Morning. I thought this morning that we would talk a little bit about accommodations. These are in different ways that you can do the exercises if you're having mobility issues with any part of your body. So I want to go through a little sequence of poses, and then we're going to go through how you can change the poses so you're getting generally the same idea of the stretch and the exercise that you want without putting stress on the things that are stressed for you. So let's give this a try. So if we're starting in child's pose, we've got our knees apart and we're going to put our toes together and we're going to send our hips back and then we're going to lay ourselves down. Now, if you're having difficulty with your hips in this position, what we're trying to do is we're trying to release the stress on the lower back in this position. We're trying to stretch the shoulders under here in this position, and we're trying to release all the tension in our neck by putting our head on the floor and letting our spine rest completely. So if you're having difficulty with this because you have hip issues and you have trouble folding yourself up like this on your hips, you can try bringing your knees in a little bit farther, a little bit closer, pardon me, and coming down. Or you can try doing this with a chair. Or a table, or anything, a couch, anything that's nearby. You can stay lifted on your hips, and then you just bring your head down to the chair, lay your head on the chair, lay your arms out on the chair, and let everything just kind of fall down and relax. And find a comfortable spot. You don't have to be certain spot close or a certain spot far away. Just let yourself hang there and release all of the tension. All right, coming from a child's pose, and we come up to a tabletop. Now, if you have difficulty on your knees, then you're going to want to be doing all of these poses either from sitting or standing. This you can also do from standing on a desk or a table, and you want to just find something that's going to let you keep your back flat like this. So I think this chair would actually be really good for this too. Flat your back like this, and we're going to do some exercises from here. So from our tabletop, we do our cat and cow. So we pull our tailbone and our shoulder blades together at the back there. And then we push through everything. And this can be achieved from your standing position over your chair here. And you're going to bow your back in and push your shoulders in. And then you're going to push your back out and push your shoulders out. You can also do this if you have a little bit of vertigo or trouble with balance. You can do this with your bum up against the wall and the chair in front of you. That way you're stable on both sides and you're not going anywhere. From a tabletop, we go up to downward dog. So when we go to downward dog, if you're having any issues with your wrists being feeling weak or being stressed, or you're feeling like you have too much pressure into the palm of your hand with your wrists, and you can feel that up your hands, I want you to turn your hands out a bit. So we want them with the open part of your hands like this. And that way all of the stress will be pushing into this open space in your hands. All of the pressure will be distributed here instead of here where it's going to go all the way into the palm of your hand. So if we come up from tabletop, we tuck our toes. I should probably take my socks off. This might be a little bit easier. Socks off. All right. And we come up, tuck our toes, and we come up to downward dog through a plank. Up and up. Now, if you have difficulty here with your legs holding yourself up, you can always do a downward dog type exercise from your knees. And what we want to do is, instead of coming up to both of our legs, we want to just kind of come up to one leg. So you just want to stick one leg out and push into the back. So what we're trying to achieve here is a really nice hamstring stretch by tipping our bums up into the air, and a really nice shoulder stretch by pushing down into our arms here. So how we can achieve that from our knees is we can just take one leg and push it back, and then just bow ourselves down a little bit, and then just alternate like this. Excuse me. So if you've been able to achieve your downward dog like this, and our next move calls for a plank, you can come forward so that your shoulders are directly over your wrists. Again, if you have trouble with holding yourself up on your wrists like that just a little bit, turn your hands out a little bit, and that's going to give you a little more stability, a little different pressure point on your hands. And we're going to squeeze everything here. We're going to push those shoulders out. Now from here, if we're in downward dog and you're okay with downward dog, but you're having difficulty with your plank here, you can even come from your downward dog back onto your knees on tabletop and bring your hands out a little bit farther and swing yourself forward so that you're basically doing a plank on your knees. Now you want to keep your body straight, keep that bum from falling and from sticking out. You want it to be nice and straight here, and you're going to push into your shoulders so that you're rounding your back across your shoulder blades, rounding it this way across the top. Here. Now from here we go to chaturanga, which if we're in a regular plank, here, we come forward just a little bit and we come down to a half push-up here, okay? If you have your arms aren't quite that strong and you can't hold yourself up like that, again, if you're from a plank, you're going to put your knees down first and cross your feet while you do this one. It gives you a little more strength back there. And then come down. If you're not able to ever hold your chaturanga push-up, you just come down, kind of pause for a second, and then come all the way down, because eventually we will get there, and you can always come back up if the move calls for it. So with an accommodation here, we're able to get up to our downward dog, but we're going to have a little bit of trouble with our plank. So we're going to come down to our knees and forward to plank like this, down to our chaturanga push-up, and then our up dog like this. Now when we're in our up dog, we want to be pushing through our shoulders. We want to be squeezing our buns, and we want to be pushing into the tops of our feet here so that our knees come off the mat. If you find that difficult, please don't do it. Stay right here and be nice and comfortable, and just try and push your legs out a little bit while you squeeze your bum, squeeze your legs. That's all you need to do. Now, when we come back to downward dog from our up dog, so let's say we are in a plank, chaturanga, up dog. We're going to go back into downward dog. So generally, when people go from an up dog to a downward dog, they just kind of roll back on their toes. I do not like doing that. I can imagine myself breaking all my toes, which I've already broken many times before, and breaking them all again at the same time. So I tuck myself first, and then I bring my bum up and back. You want to make sure that you are squeezing everything while you're doing that, or you're going to put too much stress on your lower back. Now, if you find that really stresses your lower back, you come back to your knees again, tabletop first. Bring your bum all the way back, and then bring it up. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways we can achieve what we're trying to achieve. If we're coming back on, staying on our knees the entire time, we come back here and we can do our downward dog, kind of like this. And every time you come to the downward dog, do a different leg. So let's do a little lat sequence, once without accommodations and then once with lots of accommodations. So here we go. We start in a child's pose. And don't forget all the time, doesn't matter what you're doing or how you're doing it, you're breathing and you're breathing into your belly. And you're breathing in through your nose and out through your nose as well. We're going to breathe in, come to a tabletop. And we're going to breathe out, come to a downward dog. Breathe in. Take a breath here and stretch. Breathe into a plank. Out to chaturanga. Up dog. And down dog. So what's that gonna look like with a little bit of accommodation? Let's have a look. See, we're gonna bring our knees in a little bit more here. And we're just gonna stretch out here and drop our head and breathe. We're gonna come up to a tabletop. And then we're gonna come to our like one-legged downward dog here. Starting with the right foot. Then we're gonna come forward to a plank, both our knees down. We come forward over our shoulders and bring that bum in and get that back straight. We do a chaturanga, and then we go up dog, squeezing our buns but leaving our feet on the ground. Then we're gonna come back to our one-legged downward dog on the other foot. That's it. Now, if we want to do this whole thing standing with our chair, we are going to do our child's pose like this. Bend your knees if you need to. Always keep them a little bit bent. You don't want to lock them completely. Put our head down, stretch your shoulders. All right. And we're going to come up to a tabletop. Try and keep our back nice and straight. Then we're going to do our one-legged downward dog. I'm just going to put my leg behind me and stretch that hamstring at the back. And then I'm going to come up to where we would do our plank. And I'm basically going to do the same thing for a plank as I did for tabletop. And then we're going to do our chaturanga push-up. Make sure you lean forward a little bit. And then we're going to go up dog. You're going to bring your head up and try to arch your back. And then back to downward dog, bringing your head down, stepping that other foot back and pushing into that foot and push into the chair if you can. If you can get your chair stable enough to push just a tiny little bit without it moving to get that little bit of stretch in your shoulders and push those shoulders out. And we're back in our downward dog. So give these a try and then head to one of the videos and see if you can't go through and figure out what an accommodation might be that you need for a different pose. And another day, we'll talk about doing accommodations for a few more poses. I hope to see you tomorrow.